you're probably gonna wanna stick around with this one until the end. What's going on, everybody? This is Talon Sai, and you are now watching Sunday GUNDAY. Hope you're having a great Sunday so far. And today we're going to be taking a look at a gun that had originally caught my eye because of all of the times that it's found in pop culture. Movies, TV, video games, you name it, and chances are you will find a reference to a Galil or a similar variant that is familiar to you. The version I have is a little unconventional for a few different reasons, but it is rad nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into the Galil Ace from IWI. The modernized Galil Ace is of course based off of the rugged and reliable mechanism of the original Galil rifle, which was first developed by IWI in the late 1960s. The style of weapon took a lot of inspiration from the Russian AK-47 as well as the Finnish RK-62, so I will be referring to those as a comparison throughout the testing. So the IWI Galil Ace in this variation comes just as you see it here. It's completely stock with the side-folding SP Tactical brace, and it came out of the box with a 30-round windowed P-mag. This is a pistol chambered in 5.56, and while the original design was based on the 7.62 cartridge, I opted for this version for a few different reasons, which we will get into in a bit. The Galil Ace is a lightweight, gas piston driven, semi-auto platform that has the reputation of being very accurate and reliable, so I'm hoping this more unconventional option follows suit. There is an 8.3 inch barrel under the tri-rail forearm, which comes with included covers, and there are two more Picatinny rail slots on top, one found on the dust cover and then another continuing down the piston cover. The sights are fully adjustable with tritium in the front post as well as two dots around the rear sight. The safety and mag release are ambi, and the reciprocating charging handle is found on the left side, making this thing favorable for most right-handed shooters. The slightly flared mag well, trigger guard, and pistol grip are all integrated into the lower portion of this gun, so those are going to remain as is, and that's pretty much the whole package. So whether you are into platforms like this or not, it's going to be hard to find anyone who would disagree with me saying that this is a really cool little gun. It's got a lot of really cool features to it, and one of the things that I like is that it is chambered in 5.56 as opposed to the more traditional 7.62. There are some reasons why I went this route instead of the 7.62, and we will get into those after we put the first mag through this thing. I'm pretty excited. It's been a long time since I've shot a Galil, and I've never shot a pistol like this, so let's do it. All right, 30 round P-mag loaded up, ready to rock, seated in there. I'm back here from about 40 yards and also standing a pretty good distance away from the camera because this is a pretty typical A2 birdcage on here. Short barrel, 5.56. If I had to guess, this thing is going to be very concussive, shoot some fireballs, and be loud as hell, which in my opinion makes this thing even cooler. And racking this thing, oh, it's so sick. Let's see how it does. Accurate too. Man. Oh man, this one's gonna be fun. Alright guys, back for a first mag impression of the Galil Ace from IWI, pistol version, 8.3 inch barrel, shooting 5.56. This thing is super concussive, shooting fireballs, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. I'm going to start off by talking about why I opted for the 5.56 version as opposed to the 7.62, and there are a few different reasons for that. The first one you may have noticed there on that last shot, this thing did lock back. With that mag seated in there, it does have that feature. It's going to hold the bolt back on the last round, and you don't have to utilize the lever over here. On the 7.62 variant, as of right now, this will not lock back, so that's one of the reasons why I opted for it. But also 5.56. I have hundreds of PMags. I'm shooting 5.56 all the time. My main preferred platform is obviously the AR-15, so this thing sort of fits right in without having to have different types of ammo, different magazines, and it just makes my life pretty damn easy. Now, with that being a little bit unconventional for the Galil, I was afraid that maybe the accuracy or something would be off, and as of right now, even with these iron sights, nothing mounted on the top rail, no red dot yet, this thing is still pretty damn accurate. I was actually using the big aperture on the rear, but I can simply push this down and use the smaller aperture if I want to shoot out at a little bit more of a distance. Since this platform is really small, it is sort of bunched up, and typically I like shooting with both of my eyes open, but in this case I'm definitely going to be closing my non-dominant eye. But as far as iron sights go, these things seem pretty damn rugged. They are fully adjustable like I mentioned in the beginning, and I don't have any complaints there. Now, if I were to mount a red dot on here in the future, one thing that did sort of worry me, especially when it comes to AK variant style rifles similar to this, is when you're mounting something on the top rail dust cover here, this whole thing is removable. In this case, there is an extended button in the back if I do want to remove this, which I'm not going to do right now. However, the lockup on this thing feels super solid. If you didn't know much about this gun and you did not know that this top cover removed, just by feel alone, you would think that that thing is a solid fixed piece there mounted to the upper. That is a really good sign of the fit and finish of this thing. I believe that if you did have a red dot mounted on there, that it should keep it zero pretty damn well, but that's something that I won't actually know unless I try it out in the future. Now let's move down up front here to the handguard. It's pretty small, but also at the same time fairly bulky. It feels like an A2 handguard that you might find on some AR-15 variants, and it feels okay, but one of the things that is really cool are these included covers here. Now what's really cool about these covers is that if I press down on the front here and slide this forward, I can remove this entire cover here and have access to the Picatinny rail. You can do this on each side as well as underneath, but the cool factor doesn't stop there, because if I zoom in, you'll notice that there is a cutout here that runs along the front and then up the side, and that is for routing a cable for a laser or a light. On the handguard cover here, you'll notice that there is a little circular cutout. You can actually put a button in there. That way it keeps your light or whatever type of accessory that you're running really streamlined, nice and tidy, and if I had something that fit in there, I would probably mount it up, because that's a pretty slick little design. You'll put the cover back on, snap it into place, and then you're good to go. Now before I get to the controls and the shootability, I'll actually move to the back to talk about this brace, which is pretty tough because it's new. But here is one version of the gun that you could buy if you wanted an ace pistol without the side folding brace. It's gonna come in a little bit cheaper. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult to shoot, because how do you shoot things like this? It's like shooting a AK pistol at that point. Personally, not my favorite. So that is of course why I opted for the SB TAC version. One thing to note is that this thing is really tough. It does hold its retention on there really nicely. But while this thing is folded, operationally, yes, you could shoot it. However, it is a little bit difficult to get my finger in on the trigger there. I will try shooting with this thing folded just for the hell of it. But for the most part, I'm going to have this thing folded out. And when it is out, this thing is rock solid on there. This is of course a collaboration between IWI and SP Tactical, so you have their typical Velcro on there. You can slam your forearm through there and shoot it like this, which is ridiculous. I won't be doing that in this video. But yeah, I would definitely opt for a brace version of something like this. Now moving up to the front of the gun here, we're gonna start with some of the controls. Talking about the charging handle. I'm typically not a fan of things that reciprocate, but when it comes to AKs and different style variants like this was actually one of the more enjoyable ones to shoot. For an AK, I don't really like the under-over techniques. I much prefer a left side charging handle like this. For any left-handed shooters, that is not ambidextrous, so you're not gonna be able to swap that over. However, for people like me, right-handed shooters, I feel right at home with this thing. Something about that noise, that action, super smooth, and definitely a big fan of that. You'll also notice right here that there is a dust cover that moves out of the way. That way you don't have this action open as this thing is cycling, or maybe as you have this thing open. That's a really nice touch that they didn't have to add, but I'm glad that they did, because that is something that keeps this thing ultra reliable, which it should be. So now for the controls, as we move down towards the lower portion of this gun, it is sort of a polymer material. However, it does have a really nice fit and finish on it, so I'm not too worried about that. This isn't the lightest gun in the world, so if that was all metal, this thing would be really chunky. However, I think it's well balanced for what it is right now. The mag button is nice and oversized. It's got some good traction on it, and that is on each side of the gun, so that is good if you want to use your thumb to drop a mag. If I lock this to the rear, the bolt release is right here. I can get to that with my trigger finger, no issues there. And then when it comes to the safety, this is something that is a little bit weird. On the left-hand side of the gun, this is where you will find the safety, safe and fire. Now when I'm holding this thing in my right hand, I can get up there with my thumb. However, it is very unconventional compared to what I'm used to. I'm used to this motion over here with an AR, or this motion with an AK. The safety is ambidextrous, however, just with having my hands on it before even bringing it out here and shooting it, I found that this is a little bit weird to me. I don't think I will ever be using this side of the safety. Maybe I'll test it out a little bit more and I'll come to like it, but for now I think I'm gonna stick with the thumb safety on the side over here. And then there is the trigger, of course, which we will talk about after I shoot this thing some more. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those guns where I put down a lot more rounds than I typically do. So let's just jump right into this. I wish you guys could feel this, but you can still hear it. It feels so good. Weird back pocket reloads. This is something that'll take a little bit of getting used to. Should have brought my mag carrier, but we'll get it eventually. That one felt okay. We're gonna check out how the foldy boy functionality works on this thing. Like I mentioned, it's a little bit hard to get your finger in there. This thing is loosening up a little bit in a good way. Before it was really hard to actually collapse this thing, but if you stick the pistol grip into your side, you can get it while it's new. I'm just gonna hold this thing all awkwardly and see if I can get my finger in there. Oh, I actually noticed that the ambi safety bumps into the brace. I wonder if that's gonna cause an issue at all. It's so awkward. How do I hold it like this? Although it is super awkward shooting like that, this thing still feels really smooth, even though I'm holding it like a pistol. gonna try to rock a little distance now back here from about 75 yards. Should be okay out of an 8.3 inch barrel, but not so sure about my ability when it comes to this. Should probably go with the small aperture. A little shaky while I'm standing up, but we're getting some hits. Yeah, that's good enough for me. Now, I said I wasn't gonna do this because there's really no reason to, but it's been a while since I shot a brace like this in its intended way. So let me jam my arm in here all awkwardly. Let's go with the bigger aperture this time. It almost hurts to shoot it like this. Yeah, that's about enough of that. I think we can do better than that. That's fun. All right guys, back for some of my final thoughts on the IWI Galil Ace pistol. We're gonna go right into the trigger. Now this is something that actually surprised me. I didn't really have any expectations set because I've only shot a few of these in the past. But when I look at this gun and think of where you see it all of the time and where it's used in practical applications, this thing really screams like combat weapon. This reminds me of something that is built for durability, accuracy, something that you can slam around in dirt, rocks, mud, and everything, and it's still going to function pretty damn reliably, similar to an AK-47. I sort of associate those characteristics with both of these guns, the AK and the Galil. So let me bring you guys in here. Now the trigger shoe itself is very wide. The guard on it is pretty large as well, so I could definitely see myself shooting this with gloves if I wanted to. The take-up itself is pretty smooth, and the trigger is a little bit lighter than I was expecting. Once you find that wall, there's a pretty predictable break. There might be a little bit of creep there. Let's feel the reset really quick. It's resetting pretty far out, definitely tactile and audible. You can actually see it on camera there. And then again, there's a little bit of take-up back to the wall, tiny bit of creep, and the break actually feels pretty good. Now for myself, when judging a trigger on a gun like this, I just want it to be combat effective. I want to be able to shoot it quickly and accurately. I know where the wall is every time I'm pulling through and letting go. This is actually exactly what I would want and expect out of a gun like this, and I really don't see the need to ever upgrade anything like that. Speaking of upgrades, like I mentioned in the beginning, because of the way this polymer-ish lower is, you're not going to be able to change out anything like the pistol grip. However, feels really good in my hand. The ergonomics are great. To my knowledge, you're not going to be able to do much of anything else either with like a magazine well. This one is already flared, and as you saw, I was trying some reloads there, a little bit different from what I'm used to training on, like an AR-15, but it was manageable. And then everything else on this gun feels really bomb-proof. I can't stress how good the fit and finish on this thing is. It is kind of funky looking because of the weird mixture of parts and the unconventional layout compared to some of the things that I'm used to. But this is a great little package, super smooth action on this thing, and I'm definitely looking forward to bringing this out again in the future. I'm not even sure what type of questions you guys are going to ask me when it comes to this thing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people comparing this to an AR pistol. And honestly, if I'm going with a really short barrel like this, if I'm working with like a 7.5 inch AR pistol like I've done reviews on in the past, or even if you get an 8.3 inch barrel, I think I might opt for something like this, simply for the action, the reliability, the durability. When you get really short barrels on ARs, things tend to get a little bit over-gassed, and this thing is pretty gassy in itself. I was sort of squinting on some of those mag dumps there because of the gases coming back. However, for me, this is definitely another one of those range guns that I'm going to want to bring out and shoot a lot, and this to me is a little bit more fun to shoot than a traditional AR pistol. But that's just me, just my opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys think about the Galil and other variants similar to this. There's a lot of them out there, and this is just sort of scratching the surface when it comes to that. So if you guys have any questions on the IWI Galil Ace pistol, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them as best as possible. I have to give a huge thank you to everyone who supports the channel over on Patreon. I did end the testing today because I ran out of 5.56, so I'm going to be using the support from you guys to go out, get more ammo, and continue making these videos that you seem to enjoy and you're coming back to watch every week. So if you're new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every week. That's going to be it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.